continue to double and triple down on their dangerous agenda, while Democrats are fighting back and demanding reforms at ICE and the removal of Kristi Noem. We won't rest until it happens. Today, I'm proud to introduce someone who understands the very real consequences of a reckless agency when there is no accountability. Antonio Romanucci is a civil rights attorney representing Renee Nicole Good's family in their legal battle. Mr. Romanucci previously represented George Floyd's family and successfully secured a record civil settlement from the city of Minneapolis and 4 of its police officers. It's encouraging to know that the Good family has someone like Mr. Romanucci in their corner fighting for justice. Nice.
Thank you very much. To all the esteemed members and distinguished members of Congress, my name is Antonio Romanucci, and I'm a civil rights and tort litigation attorney with the deep honor of representing the family of Renee Good for her tragic shooting death by federal agents in Minneapolis. I have handled excessive force and deadly force cases across the country for decades. When the world watched Renee Good and Alex Preddy killed without justification, there was a collective cry of anger for justice. My colleagues and I, like all of you, were simply aghast. Esteemed members, thank you for holding this important forum to explore avenues to ensure accountability. It is crucial that the policies and practices of our agencies reflect the values and rights afforded to the American people in our Constitution. Our Bill of Rights, specifically under the Fourth Amendment, requires our people to be free from unreasonable search and seizure of their person and their property. When a person is detained, handcuffed, pepper sprayed, pepperballed, or shot, that violently, it is gravely concerning that this administration asserts federal law enforcement. That false narrative leads to law enforcement officers' potential to act with absolute impunity. Ever want to sled on. U.S. Section 42, also known as the Civil Rights Act of 1871, Section 1983, gives a person emergency seizure violations. The Seventh Amendment guarantees the right to a jury trial. Currently, Section 1983 covers all law enforcement officers except federal. There should be a level playing field when a person has their constitutional rights violated by a federal, state, county, or local police officer. The law must be suitable, sensible, and equitable. Clients, friends, and people from all walks of life tell me they feel betrayed by their country and our Constitution when it becomes clear that there is not the same avenue to justice available when a federal officer causes harms or violates them or their loved ones. All people must have the Bill of Rights protecting them, just like I said, the Fourth Amendment. And more specifically, the Seventh Amendment right to a jury trial, which is not available to all currently. My wherefore clause to you is for this panel is this. I urge you to support the longer-term effort to amend the now archaic statute from the year 1871, 155 years old, to include the right to seek redress against federal law enforcement officers by adding the words, or the United States. That's it. To the list of government agencies that we may now seek remedies from. While this issue has been highlighted because of Renee Good's death involving a federal agent, the need for an amendment solves a significant gap in access to justice for all Americans. A jury trial is the ultimate bastion for truth, blocked for some. The Seventh Amendment is a right. It is not an option. And the paradox, because I saw this video for the first time, ladies, the ones who support our civil rights are also held accountable if they violate civil rights. The federal officers that we saw in that video, they are not held accountable. And that must change. On behalf of our clients, my colleagues, and the American people, this one law enforcement officers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Romanucci, for that powerful testimony. The abuses that you and others describe against citizens and law-abiding immigrants are inflicting terrible trauma on our communities. Healthcare providers and schools bear the brunt of this cruelty. That's because Trump's DHS is completely. Americans are horrified by the senseless, brutal violence and tragic killings that we all saw in Minneapolis, and the dozens of deaths in detention centers across the country that we haven't seen. And this clearly isn't what my constituents in South Florida were promised. Trump lied to all of us when he pledged to focus on real violent criminals, the so-called worst of the worst. Instead, we get the killing of citizens, attacks on the first, second, snatched from their homes, and U.S. citizens unlawfully detained. All while Trump revokes the legal status of hardworking immigrants who followed the law without a whisper of legitimate due process and threatens to send them back to failed states like Haiti and Venezuela. Every dollar spent terrorizing TPS recipients, brutalizing Americans, or detaining children in internment camps is a dollar not spent on real criminals. And it's clear that the $150 billion in funding for ICE that Republicans stole from Medicare and Medicaid in the big ugly law is not being spent in line with the values Americans hold dear. Before any funding bill passes. And once Democrats win the majority, we will seek a complete overhaul of these agencies and enforce accountability. Taxpayers are sick of funding ICE brutality, and my South Florida community believes ICE shouldn't get another penny until they reform the agency and punish its abuses. And now we'll hear another powerful perspective on all of this. Nana is an immigration and civil rights litigator defending immigrants against unfair detention and deportation practices. She's the policy director at the American Immigration Council, which does critical work to uphold the due process rights of immigrants through the courts and legislative advocacy. Nana, thank you for joining us today and for your efforts to protect our rights under the Constitution. I welcome you to give your opening statement.
Congresswoman, and good morning, honorable members of the committee. While Americans watch masked officers pepper spray and shoot U.S. citizens and unidentified agents drag immigrant parents from cars, the Trump administration...
It's on.
How about now? Closer? Okay. The Trump administration insists it's going after the worst of the worst, but it is the administration itself that is engaged in unlawful behavior. From day one, it has rejected long-standing DHS policies, pushed outdated immigration laws to their extreme, and unabashedly violated the Constitution. Last month, we watched federal of the Fourth Amendment, instructions they received directly from headquarters. Last year, they deported hundreds to a foreign prison with no day in court in violation of the Fifth Amendment. And in the federal courts, they have been on the losing end of hundreds of cases, proving that violating the law is their norm. They've also abdicated decades of bipartisan use of enforcement priorities. Since no one is a priority, everyone is a priority. Longtime residents, undocumented families and workers, TPS and DACA recipients, and racially profiled U.S. citizens. When the White House set its target of 3,000 arrests per day, ICE rapidly expanded the use of roving patrols and at-large arrests, which target thousands already complying, dutifully attending court hearings, including entire families in lobbies and elevators. Agents are throwing into detention families who entered lawfully, like 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father. And in Minneapolis and Maine, ICE shipped refugees to facilities in Texas despite their lawful status having already faced the most stringent vetting requirements. This abuse and chaos extend beyond our streets to our rapidly expanding detention system, which increased by 75% last year. The result has been appalling abuses, pregnant women denied medical care, detained children served rotting food, and record deaths in detention. There aren't enough immigrants with serious criminal records to hit the White House's deportation goals. So tens of thousands are locked up despite posing no safety threat. This agenda is only going to get worse. The $150+ billion in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is enough to turn DHS into the size of a small foreign military and to increase the detention system by the end